We've been receiving a lot of complaints here at 1851 that I pick on Sean too much at the opening of the Weekly Sizzle. So this week, Sean has a song to sing about my shirt.
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com.
This is the Weekly Sizzle. Sean's singing clearly is not a part of this Weekly Sizzle because his singing is phenomenal. Sean, I would advise you to leave 1851 and go try out for American Idol.
No.
And he couldn't do it anyway because the show got canceled. So let's move on to the top 8 things you need to know in franchising this week. Megan, we'll start with you. We just launched our new issue, which is the Next Great Thing in Brands issue. Give us a little bit of a preview on that.
Yeah, so the next 2 weeks we're going to be highlighting big brands like Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Jimmy John's, Planet Fitness, a whole bunch of other brands, taking a look at what they're doing to stay relevant as the industry continues to change and evolve, and just kind of getting an insider's look at kind of what makes their brand tick.
Yeah, that's great. Second story, we're featuring Dunkin' Donuts from the Next Great Thing in Brands issue. Scott, I'll go to you. How do you feel them as a franchise has been able to stay relevant in the franchise industry or as a franchise opportunity?
I think the way they've gone out and rebranded their stores, updated them, put a focus on coffee, which seems to be where the morning drivers are looking for, to be able to capture that and kind of expand their menu beyond just being a donut shop, has kept them relevant and kept them kind of top of mind.
Okay, that's good. Number 3, Fast Casual reported that there's been a steep decline in lunch traffic. Sean, how can brands that are focused on lunch reverse this trend, or should they start focusing on other day parts? And what advice would you have for them as franchise prospects are questioning whether a lunch brand makes sense for them if there's a steep decline?
I think it probably comes down to convenience and time. So packaging lunches, like some of the brands will come out and have special lunch packages that are quicker and then it can get faster. So I think that's probably more of a timing issue with brands, and so focusing on that might help.
Yeah, I still think that it could be the decline. The stats could be skewed simply because there's so many brands that have jumped into the QSR space that perhaps the data isn't exactly true. It just means it's more crowded.
Absolutely. There's more and more focus on trying to expand menus and expand from breakfast to dinner, and so I think it's just more options, and so it's just going to kind of dilute it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. We have a story on FranTech, which is IFA's Franchise Technology Conference. Our good friend Jack Monson is leading the charge there with Deb Evans. Conference is October 26th through the 27th in Texas. So for those of you who are looking to figure out what the new wave of technology as it relates back to franchising is, that would be an interesting conference for you to check out. You can read more on our site, obviously, or you can go to IFA's page and search for FranTech, and you'll be able to find more data there. Last week, we also launched our transparency report. It was our first shot at it. We're going to do this quarterly. Let's just go around our little half circle and share something that's special about 1851 that we feel the readers should know.
I think the most important thing to me is that we have a passion for franchising, and we want to report on all brands. So, like I said many times before, send us your press releases, send us your stories. We want to promote franchising, and we, all of us, strongly believe it's a great platform for entrepreneurs. So, we want to tell everybody's story.
Yeah, that's good, Scott.
I agree with Sean.
Cool. And Megan?
Yeah, I want to echo that. I think whether the brand is big or small, new or old, we want to hear your story and we want to tell it. So we're not really exclusive. We're open to everyone's stories. So tell it to us.
So, sorry, I was looking for pigs flying because I'm going to agree with Sean too. So there we go. It's a universal agreement with Sean. Sean nailed the answer on this one. Way to go.
Thank you.
All right. Next story. Famous Toastery continues to be a top franchise to watch. 1851 went out and visited Famous Toastery in Charlotte this week to get an inside look at their brand. Obviously, the stores are packed. Better breakfast seems like a perfect segment to get into. It's something that hasn't really been dominated by brands yet. McDonald's obviously has made breakfast all day. So the category is ripe. Famous Toastery as a brand seems to be doing the right things. You can find the story on their page, famoustoastery.1851franchise.com. and that story was actually written by CNBC. So just want to go to you, Sean, on this, the validation of big-time media reporting on a brand. What does that do for a brand when it comes to sales?
I think it gives it obviously legitimacy and what I call brand affirmation. And so when someone's doing their due diligence and they see that type of credentials from coming from a large publication like that, it's just something that can just, again, provide great validation to the brand. And that can just last for a very long time. So not just the immediate hit of being on the media, but having that associated with the brand can have long-term benefits.
Yeah, and Scott, you and I were talking about this week that when you were at Brightstar, they had a Forbes ranking of top franchises. How valuable was that to you when you were selling franchises for the brand, and how relatable was that to franchise prospects that were looking for the right fit?
Well, it immediately gave us credibility with the franchise candidates because Forbes was synonymous with a high reputation, and to be picked by them certainly gave Brightstar the type of recognition that we were looking for. But the longevity that article and ranking had lasted well over 12 months. We were still getting candidates coming to us a year later who had found that article online. So the lasting effort of it continued to pay benefits. We rolled it out in email campaigns. So we were able to really utilize and capitalize on that Forbes ranking.
Great. Yeah, obviously that just validates PR for franchisors, especially as you're looking at your budget for next year, that's probably something that you want to have in your toolkit to help propel at least the perception that your franchise is hot or growing. We have a story on Ruby Tuesday on the site that they're ready to grow again. If you're following the brand at all, they had some turnover with their CEO departing this past week, which was big news in the restaurant industry. But despite that, they seem ready to grow. They've positioned the brand, and now they're coming out there and saying, hey, we've done the right things to be ready for growth. You can visit rubytuesday.1851franchise.com for more information there. And last one, if you read my column this week, it's the challenge of not having the last word. Oftentimes people want to argue, and the last word seems to settle the argument. Sean?
I always like to have the last word.
That's the Weekly Sizzle. I win.